everyone. I'm your host, Brittany Jones-Cooper. Welcome back to Build. The psychological thriller Tell Me a Story takes the world's most beloved fairy tales and reimagines them as dark, twisted stories. Paul Wesley is back for season 2, this time playing Tucker, a struggling novelist with some interesting hobbies. He joins us today to talk about the show, but first, check out the trailer from... Put your hands together for Paul Wesley.
Dramatic scene.
So dark and dramatic. Yeah. And no, she shouldn't trust him. Okay, I'm just going to say that.
By the way,
I checked out the first 2 episodes. Your character, we'll talk about him in a minute. He's a real interesting guy.
Interesting is a way to put it.
Yeah, but first I want to say this is season 2, and this is an anthology, so they switch up the cast and the stories every season, but you're in season 2. Did you know that was going to happen?
No. I had such a great time season 1, and I had just made that very clear to the producers and the writer Kevin, who's they're both friends of mine. You know, the producers Aaron Kaplan and Capital, and Kevin, the creator writer, and they knew I had such a blast, and I kind of insinuated that maybe it would be cool to come back, and they had not thought of that. I think it was always supposed to be a true anthology, new cast of characters, new cast of actors, and somehow I weaseled my way in there, for better or for worse for them. But I had a great time. But more than anything, sorry, long-winded answer, more than anything, I really responded to this character. And when Kevin and I sat down to talk about this character, he said, okay, so here's the deal. He's a guy who's an insomniac. He's a novelist. He's madly in love with a woman, but he has dark secrets, and they manifest themselves in very interesting ways. And I was like, I need to do this part. So that's how
they do manifest in interesting ways, and that kind of, as a whole, to me, season 2 almost feels a little more dark. So were there any conversations going into season 2 about how it would feel different or be the different, or is it the same?
Well, I mean, so yeah, interestingly enough, the theme this season is princess, right? So you have Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and Beauty and the Beast, right? So those sound kind of very sort of innocent, but no, it is quite dark, or particularly my storyline. Yeah. I know I'm being extremely vague. You guys haven't obviously seen anything because it hasn't come out yet, but it gets weird.
It gets weird quite fast, because out the gate you kind of like your character. He seems like a decent dude.
Yeah, he's a little weird, but then you're like, wait, what is he doing? But some of the great roles are Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. It's like. The key to this for me, and the challenge for this, was to find empathy for this guy and to somehow make him human, even though he's doing these really horrible things. How can I, Paul, love this character? How can I relate to this character? What is it about me? I sure hope I don't behave like him, but how can I somehow relate to him so that I can be honest when I'm playing this guy? And that is very interesting to me.
What was something you created to kind of humanize him for you?
I mean, I had to separate myself from the behaviors, obviously, because they're very extreme. But I do think in many ways he's doing things out of fear and also for love. And I think when humans are in fear things, and when they're in love, they will do anything, and I can relate to that. For me, love is an extremely powerful thing. I think we can all relate to that. It's just comes out differently for different people.
He's also a creative guy, and so some of his frustration, I feel is born out of his writer's block or whatever.
Yeah, actually, that's a good that's the other thing, right? I'm an actor, obviously, and I've done theater, and it's sometimes you start to really the character that you play begins to sort of influence your life a little bit, even subconsciously. And I started thinking to myself, that's the other thing. This guy's a writer, and a lot of what he does actually ends up coming out in his his novels, and so I was like, oh, I kind of do that, you know.
I sort of saw him as a man who was blocked and like looking for inspiration, and then just went off like a real deep cliff doing so.
Yeah, really deep cliff.
But it's fun to watch, and I think I like this show because fairy tales always have a happy ending, and we're sort of used to certain fairy tales, but the actual origin story for a lot of these fairy tales is pretty dark.
Pretty dark, yeah. I remember doing, Three Little Pigs, so cute, Three Little Pigs, right? Like, so adorable, and then you're like, wait a minute, he cooked the wolf and ate him.
Right.
Like, that's kind of weird. Hansel and Gretel, what's going on there? It's a little bizarre that humans sort of, but I think I told you this last year when you and I were doing an interview. These are cautionary tales for children, Don't stray far from the woods, child, or you're going to get eaten. It's a way of making sure your kid stays in check.
Absolutely. Kids, you hear that? Stay in check. Or Tucker.
Can't wait to do that to my children.
You mentioned the woods. Last season, the woods were New York City. This year, it's been relocated to Nashville.
Yeah.
So did you guys actually film in Nashville?
Well, we're still filming in Nashville.
Yeah.
So I haven't finished the season yet. I think wherever you shoot always plays a huge, role in the story. So there's a music theme as well. So the Beauty and the Beast storyline that I'm not involved in, or I guess I am peripherally. I'm the Beast in real life, but no. My fiance on the show is her sister. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
she knows more than I did.
I did my research.
Her sister is a big pop star, like a Taylor Swift type character, who ends up something horrible ends up happening. And so it's this interesting play on Beauty and the Beast, like who's the beauty, who's the beast. It's sort of an interchangeable thing. So yeah.
Which I love too about this show is it kind of continues to flip. So even gender roles have been flipped, like Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
We have a female beast.
Right.
In the other
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty. In the other storyline, it's Cinderella focused, and it sort of seems like the woman may be the one rescuing the man in a lot of
very much
ways.
so. Yeah.
So for you, when you read the script, is that what gets you excited? Is that you kind of don't know what's gonna happen?
Yeah. I think it's cool to take like a classic archetype and spin it. You know what I mean? I've never seen that before. Yeah. So it's cool.
Yeah, and you've worked with Kevin since Vampire Diaries. So what is it that keeps you just continuing to want to work with him in his projects? Because like you said, you raised your hand to be a part of season 2.
Well, I was a huge fan of the Scream franchise. I recently rewatched it actually, and I was like, man, it's so great because it was like really one of the first films that sort of spun the horror genre in a sort of wink way, like looking at the audience like. There was characters that would be like, if I go out into the woods, the guy's going to be there and he's going to stab me. And then the guy did it and stabbed him. And it was kind of like Kevin was almost like not making fun of, but sort of like it was a satire to a degree, but a scary satire. And I always thought that was so clever. And then, obviously, the first 2 seasons of Vampire Diaries, in my opinion, were really like, I'm not saying all of it wasn't great, but the first 2 seasons in particular were really, I thought, pretty high-level television. Like, I understand it's a teen show. I understand, like, we're vampires and we're biting people and everyone's, everyone's good-looking and, it's the CW and, like, I get it. But actually, if you look at it, I didn't just call myself good looking. I'm saying the whole cast. But
that's what we were thinking, right? I was like, yeah, okay.
The whole cast. Everyone was pretty. It's like, come on, this is ridiculous. What was I saying? Oh, but I do think it was like high quality television. The twists and the turns, and I just remember thinking like, I'll do whatever this guy writes because it's really high quality stuff. And then here I am.
Speaking of pretty cast, this cast is really pretty as
well. Again.
Really pretty cast. You and Danielle, are you the only 2 that came back from the first? And then now a lot of your scenes are with Odette.
Right.
Take me through working with her because that chemistry feels really organic.
Oh yeah.
Fun.
Well, she's lovely. Odette, for those of you who don't know, is plays my fiance. Yeah, it's such an odd thing when you get cast in a role and you suddenly have to be, acting as if you know one another for the last 10 years and kissing and hugging and all this jazz, and it can be so awkward if you don't have chemistry with the person. We have great chemistry. We get along really well. We have the same sense of humor. Super easy. It's nice, but it's not always the case, guys. Sometimes you get casts and you're like, I don't like that person, and now I have to make out with them. So it's been pretty chill. It's been pretty chill. Yeah.
The chemistry is great. I really like watching you guys. You mentioned you're still, making the show. Do you know how it wraps up? Do they let you guys know how the story's
I just read
end?
the final. I just read. In fact, I shot the final scene, my final scene, last week.
So no spoilers, obviously, but
right.
What was your reaction? Because I remember when the first season ended, I was like, oh, God, some of that was dark. And I thought, for some reason, I still thought it was going to be happy.
Yeah. Nope, not going to be happy. I mean, I literally can't tell you anything just because it's... all what I will say is that I do think justice is served. You know what I mean?
That makes me feel good knowing.
What's up with that
know.
laugh? Did you guys hear my laugh? I just went, ha ha. That was a nervous laugh.
It was almost a little sinister, too.
It was sinister and weird. No, but yeah, justice is served. That's all I can say.
So you're playing, different characters in this series. You've played different characters on your other shows. Is there a character in your career that you see as just like for you, the most fun to jump into or the most defining? Maybe not even one that we would consider.
Yeah, sure. Well, the earlier sort of roles for me when I was still trying to figure out, what I really wanted to do. Like, I mean, I remember my first role that I ever got cast in was a soap opera and in New York City. And I just remember like it was an amazing training ground for me. Because I really understand, it's like a lot of people pay for acting classes. I still go to acting class. I go all the time. But people go to university, they study, they get diplomas. I didn't really do any of that, but I was on a soap opera, and I learned how to get comfortable in front of a camera to a degree. I understood. It was my training, and that was a very defining period of my life. I was 16 years old, so from 16 to 19, I was like figuring out, for better or for worse, how to be comfortable.
Yeah, that was Guiding Light, right?
That was Guiding Light.
Yes.
Yes.
I used to watch Guiding Light.
Look at you. She knows everything.
My grandma watched a lot of soap operas.
Yeah, but I would say like as far as like my defining roles, honestly, theater. Theater is something that I had been on, had done as a kid a bunch, and I remember I had been on The Vampire Diaries. It was extremely successful, and I remember thinking to myself, but I should really do some theater because there's no editing, there's no music, there's no, oh, let me do that one more time. Oh, I forgot my line. It's you, it's the audience, and it's the material, and I need to be truthful, and I need to be impactful, and I need to do it like that. And that for me was incredibly daunting, but I really welcomed that challenge, and it was a role that was extremely difficult. Not a lot of people saw it, tiny little off-Broadway theater, but for me that was a very defining moment in my life because I feel like I appreciated acting in a different way. Yeah.
And you seem like somebody who really looks at, I guess, acting really holistically, meaning like in front of and behind the camera, because I know you've directed as well.
Right.
So how does being an actor inform your directing style?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I think the most important thing is that someone has to be genuine. A director obviously needs to be aware of the editing and the shots and how it's all going to string together on an aesthetic level, and story-wise, we need to follow the story. But as far as like letting actors breathe, you need to like let someone be sincere, let them be their genuine self. I think if you overnote someone, if you give them too many notes and you try to put them in a box of something that you're envisioning, it's always going to fail. Someone has to be their organic self based on their own experiences, based on whatever they've been through in their life, and that needs to shine on screen. And so I think it's about allowing people to breathe.
And you've directed some episodes of The Vampire Diaries and one of Shadowhunters, I know, and then Legacy's the most recent.
Yeah. Couple short films. In the middle of directing a short film right now, actually.
Yeah, what's that short film?
I'm doing this short with a brilliant guy who's much more talented than me, who's co-directing it. I'm doing a short about cowboys. Yeah.
I like how you said that.
Yeah. But it's gonna be great. No, he's very talented, and I'm learning a lot from him. He's an indie filmmaker. He's won a lot of awards, and yeah, he's great. So I don't know what the hell he's doing with me. But and then I'm directing. I'm actually gonna direct an episode of Batwoman next year. I don't know if you've heard of Batwoman.
Oh yeah, we had Ruby Rose here.
Ruby Rose.
Out the first
Yeah.
episodes.
I haven't met her yet. I'm looking forward to meeting her. I'm gonna do an episode of that.
She's very charismatic.
In January, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm looking forward to it. Out in Vancouver. So yeah, I really allows me to view the work differently.
Yeah.
You're not as myopic, stuck in your role. You're sort of thinking about everyone, and yeah. No, I've been fortunate that I was, afforded the opportunity to direct on The Vampire Diaries. Yeah.
Do you see that as something you want to continue, to grow in, or will it always be acting and directing?
I think it's something that I want to continue to do, but I think I want to create my own narrative, right? I think it's really great to direct someone else's material, but I would imagine that the most satisfying thing is to direct something that you create or are involved in sort of from the beginning.
You written anything?
Well, kind of, sort of, but it's like saying, do you sing in the shower and you have the worst voice ever, and you're like, yeah, or do you, it's like, yeah, I write. Listen, I've written. It's nothing we should discuss, and I'm certainly not going to be handing out my pages to the audience anytime soon.
I'm sure they'd be happy to read them.
But I do my best.
I like how you continue to navigate just everything. I was reading something, and Ian Somerhalder was like inspired to direct because you directed an episode of Legacies. Like you're having that impact.
Ian's copying me, man.
Aren't you guys doing a line of bourbon together?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, that's how much we like drinking. No, yeah, Ian and I are. He's a really good buddy of mine. I love that guy so much. He, on the show, on our show that we did for 8 years, we drank bourbon the whole time. I mean, it was really iced tea, but it looked like bourbon, decaffeinated iced tea. But I was like, guys, this is too much caffeine. So anyway, we just thought it would be, there's been a big influx of George Clooney's creating Casamigos. I think Bryan Cranston, who's a buddy of mine, is doing his thing with Aaron Paul. Like, man, we got to do something. So we're doing a bourbon line, and we're working on that right now. Yeah. Text every day about it, sampling things, getting
Sounds rough.
Yeah. I didn't sample before this interview, so we're good.
Hey, I'm going to say next time you come, bring some bourbon.
Okay, I might.
Because I can drink some bourbon.
I'll bring you a bottle.
Thank you. You guys heard it, right? Promise. Before we go, we do have a question or four.
All right.
Where's the first one? Over there.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Nice to meet you
in
real life. Yes. Okay. So a question I have is, what was the biggest challenge? Because I know in season 1 you played the role of Eddie. But what was the biggest challenge in switching that to season 2, in which you play the role of Tucker now? So what was your biggest challenge in playing that character?
Yeah, well, season 1, Eddie was a mess on the outside and inside, and he made a lot of mistakes. But on the inside, I feel like he was kind of like a soft teddy bear, like he didn't want to be in the situation that he's in. This is the polar opposite in that Tucker on the outside is like, he's a good guy, he's put together, he's got a nice fiance, everything's okay. But on the inside, it's just this dark storm. And I feel like for me, it was about switching from externalizing it to internalizing it. Yeah, thanks for the question.
Because it is basically a new cast, all new fairy tales, are there any nods to season 1 or characters, or is it just completely different?
Totally separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how I felt 2 episodes in, but I know things change. So no Easter eggs. Who has the next one? Right there.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Good.
She had to think about it.
Okay, so my question is, knowing that Daniel Campbell was on the originals,
yeah.
what was it like being on set with her being Kayla?
Well, I never watched the originals. Although, actually, I know. Sorry, I didn't. I mean, come on, I didn't. Not because I didn't. Like, I just didn't like I had to like act on a vampire show all day. I didn't want to go home and watch another vampire show, you know? Like, I just wanted to chill out and watch National Geographic. So I didn't watch it. So I don't know her in that context. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Was it nice to have another person come back though? You guys are sort of like the seniors.
Yeah, for sure. And I've known her for years just socially, and so it was nice to have someone to bond with.
Totally.
Yeah.
Next one.
Hello.
Hi, Paul.
Paul,
Sorry, I'm
that's
nervous.
Oh, you guys are really falling apart in the front row.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Okay, hi.
Hi.
We love you.
Oh, thank
Right,
you.
girls?
You're so sweet. Oh, thanks, guys.
My question is, what's your favorite memory from working on this show?
Which show?
This show.
This show? Okay,
Tell
cool,
me a
cool.
story.
Just making sure. Gosh, favorite memory. Oh, it's been I would say that the more dark a role is, the more you want to joke when the cameras aren't rolling. You know what I mean? Because when you're doing a comedy, you know. But if you're doing a drama, the only way to get through really horrible moments when there's really dramatic scenes is to joke in between the shots. You know what I'm saying? So I've developed a real sense of humor with my colleagues and my coworkers, and that to me has so far been the best memory. Thank you.
Are there any parts of Tucker that you still like have to shake off?
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
I'm still playing him, so I'm still like a little creeped out by myself. Yeah. I need to no, but for real, honestly, yeah. No, for sure.
His behavior is really creepy, and I would imagine you're an actor, you can get in and out, but at the end of the day...
Yeah, it's not, acting is weird. Acting's a weird thing, you know? It's just weird. You know, you're getting paid to play a twisted, you know, and you really need to learn to separate that, you know? And so that's it's a daily struggle.
Have you developed any skills over the years of how to kind of leave a character on set or not let them torment you after you're done?
Go home, pour yourself a bourbon.
Available in 2020.
Yeah. Exactly. That was a plug for my bourbon.
And one more?
Hi, I'm
Hello.
Deanna.
Hi.
I just wanted to say I love you, and I've
Oh,
admired you
thank
for
you.
years. And my question is, do you prefer acting or directing?
That's a good question. I would say that if it's a great role, and truly something that I think whatever challenges me, right? So if it's a great role, I'd love to act in it. If it's not such a great role, maybe I'd prefer to direct it. You know what I mean? It's whatever's the most fulfilling, you know, for you as an artist. Sorry if that sounds pretentious, but you know, I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I haven't seen how things pan out for Tucker. I'm sure it's going to be
not well.
Yeah. I'm sure it's going to be an interesting ride, but that's why this show is so much fun, because you think one thing's going to happen, that's not what happens ever, and he's such a creep, so it's great to watch.
Right. Thank you.
You guys, Tell Me a Story.
No.
Season 2 of Tell Me a Story will air on December 5th on CBS All Access. Put your hands together for Paul.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.